Soft piano music playing in the background, gentle rain tapping on the window. I never thought a song could hold so much power. Every note, every lyric, carried memories I had tried so hard to forget. It was our song, the one we danced to under the streetlights that night when the world felt like it belonged only to us. I thought I was over him. I told myself that life moves on, that heartbreak fades, but that song, it refused to let me forget. I remember the way he used to laugh, the way his hand fit perfectly in mine. I remember the little things, the way he hummed along to every chorus, the shy smile when he caught me staring. And then, one rainy evening, I heard it again. Softly, from a cafe across the street. It was faint at first, just the melody floating through the air. My heart skipped. I froze. It was like he was calling to me, through time, through memories I thought were buried. I didn't know it yet, but that song was about to change everything. I looked up, and there he was, standing there, exactly where I least expected him. And in that moment, I realized, some love stories aren't over. Soft piano and rainy ambience plays in the background. It had been months since I last saw him, yet every morning, I woke up to the echo of his laughter in my mind. Some memories never fade, they linger in the quiet corners of your heart, refusing to let go. I thought I had moved on, that the ache in my chest had softened into something tolerable. But the moment I pressed play on that old playlist, it all came rushing back. There it was, our song. The one we discovered together on a random Friday evening, the one that had become our secret language. Every note wrapped around my heart like a familiar embrace, each lyric bringing me closer to him in ways I couldn't explain. I closed my eyes and remembered that night vividly. The city had been alive with lights, cars streaming past, the hum of late-night chatter filling the air. He had grabbed my hand impulsively, pulling me into the street without a word. And then, under the faint glow of a street lamp, we danced. No one else existed. Just the two of us, spinning in sync to a melody that seemed made only for us. I had never felt more alive. But life has a way of tearing us from the people we care about most. Distance, misunderstandings, and the invisible weight of fear had driven us apart. I remembered the last night we spent together, our words awkward, our glances hesitant. I didn't know it then, but it was the beginning of months of silence. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I tried to bury the memories, replacing them with work, coffee dates with friends, and meaningless conversations. Yet, in the quiet moments when the city slowed, and my apartment was just the soft hum of rain against the window, he returned. In the form of a melody, a lyric, a memory that refused to fade. I found myself walking aimlessly, headphones around my neck, replaying our song over and over. It had become a ritual, almost a prayer. Each time I listened, the ache of longing was sharp, but also comforting. It reminded me I had loved, and that love had been real. There was a cafe I frequented, one tucked into a quiet corner of the city. Its windows fogged from the steam of countless lattes, and the scent of coffee beans hung in the air like a gentle whisper. I had walked past it countless times, unaware of the magic waiting inside. But that day, something was different. The song began playing softly from the small speaker behind the counter. My heartbeat quickened. I paused on the sidewalk, unsure if my mind was playing tricks on me. But no, each note was unmistakable. It was him, our song, carrying memories that refused to remain in the past. I stepped inside cautiously, my eyes scanning the cafe, each table and chair familiar yet somehow different without him there. And then, I saw a flash of something I had thought I'd never see again. A figure, leaning casually against the counter, humming along. My breath caught. My pulse raced. Time seemed to slow, the world fading to black and white except for him, illuminated like a scene in one of those movies we used to watch together. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stop the world from moving, if only for a second, so I could process what I was seeing. But my feet moved before I could think, carrying me closer, heart pounding in sync with the soft rhythm of the piano in my ears. It was him. My mind refused to accept it at first. The memory of our last goodbye, the months of absence, the heartbreak, it all collided in an overwhelming wave. And yet, there he was, alive, present, closer than he had been in months, and suddenly everything felt like it could change again. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions inside me. There was longing, yes. Fear, definitely. But underneath it all, there was hope, a fragile, trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, some love stories are never truly over. They simply wait for the right moment, the right song, to bring them back. As I stood there, my eyes fixed on him, memories began flooding in sharp, vivid, impossible to ignore. I remembered the first time we met. It was at that tiny record store downtown, the kind that smelled of old vinyl and espresso. I had been browsing aimlessly, searching for a song I didn't even know I needed. And there he was, leaning over the same shelf, reaching for the same record. Our hands brushed, and I felt a jolt, as if some invisible thread had connected us in that moment. We laughed awkwardly, the kind of nervous, shy laugh that made you instantly aware of someone's presence. That day, we shared our favorite music, discovering an instant connection. By the end of the afternoon, we had plans to meet again. I didn't know it then, but that simple meeting would change my life in ways I could never imagine. Our first date was chaotic in all the right ways. He showed up late, of course, but with that grin that made my heart skip. We wandered the city streets, music spilling from cafes and street performers, laughing at small missteps and the occasional downpour. Everything felt effortless, natural, like the world had conspired to bring us together. Every song we heard seemed to carry meaning, every lyric resonating as if it were written for us. Months passed, and our bond deepened. The song I heard today, the one playing in the cafe, had been the anthem of our love. It had accompanied us through late-night drives, quiet mornings, and countless shared smiles. We even had a silly ritual: when that song played, we'd pause whatever we were doing, look at each other, and hum along in perfect harmony. It was simple, intimate, unforgettable. But love is never without its challenges. Life's pressures began to weigh on us. Work, distance, misunderstandings, we didn't see them coming, or maybe we ignored them for too long. Arguments started as whispers, then grew into silence. And one day, he was gone. No explanation, no goodbye, just absence. The city suddenly felt emptier, colder, like someone had muted the colors. Yet here he was, standing across from me, humming the very song that had defined our love. I couldn't move. Part of me wanted to flee, afraid of reopening wounds I had barely managed to close. But another part, one I had tried to suppress, felt drawn to him, pulled by that invisible thread that had connected us from the very beginning. I remembered the nights I had replayed our song alone, trying to convince myself it was just nostalgia, that he was gone for good. I had cried into my pillow, whispered his name to the ceiling, imagined what it would be like to see him again. And now, reality had surpassed even my wildest imagination. He looked up, sensing my stare, and our eyes met. It was a look filled with recognition, regret, and something softer, something that felt like longing. My chest tightened. I wanted to speak, to ask 1,000 questions, but the words lodged in my throat. We simply stood there, suspended in the moment, as if time had decided to pause and give us a second chance to feel, to remember, to breathe. The song continued to play, drifting between us like an invisible bridge. Every note wrapped around us, bringing warmth to a space that had been empty for too long. I realized then that love isn't just about holding on, sometimes, it's about waiting. Waiting for the right song, the right moment, the right chance. And maybe, just maybe, that moment had finally arrived. I took a slow step forward, each movement weighted with months of longing and uncertainty. My heart pounded in my chest like it wanted to escape, yet my legs carried me closer to him, drawn by something I couldn't name. He noticed me then, for real this time. His eyes widened, just slightly, the kind of subtle expression that holds 1,000 unspoken words. I could see it there, surprise, disbelief, and something else, softer, almost tender. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Hi," I whispered, barely louder than the melody of our song in the background. He blinked, and then, as if waking from a long dream, he smiled the kind of smile that reaches your soul, making everything else fade. "Hi," he replied, his voice low but warm. It had that same comforting timbre I remembered so well. For a moment, neither of us said anything. The song continued, wrapping us in a cocoon of shared memories. I could feel the weight of months apart pressing on my chest, but also a strange, exhilarating lightness, the kind that comes when you realize something you thought was lost forever might not be gone after all. "I didn't expect to see you here," I managed, my voice trembling just slightly. He shook his head, running a hand through his hair nervously. I could say the same. I didn't think I'd ever hear this song again without thinking of you. The words hit me like a soft, familiar wave. They weren't dramatic or perfect, they were honest, raw, and exactly what I needed to hear. My chest ached with both relief and longing. We moved to a small table by the window, the rainy city outside blurring into streaks of color. The world felt suspended, almost unreal. I kept glancing at him, memorizing the lines of his face, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the subtle changes time had etched into him. He looked like home. We talked, but not about the months apart, not yet. We talked about small things, how the city had changed, the little cafes we used to love, the songs that still haunted our playlists. Each word, each laugh, was like stitching together the pieces of a fragile bridge, connecting the hearts that had been apart for far too long. And then, inevitably, the conversation turned to the song. "I heard it today," I admitted, "and I couldn't stop thinking about you." His gaze softened. "I've been hearing it too, everywhere. Every time I think of you. And I realized I never stopped wanting to see you again." The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of months of unspoken feelings. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, a mixture of relief, happiness, and disbelief. Could this really be happening after all the distance, all the uncertainty, all the heartbreak? We were here, together, in the same place, listening to the song that had somehow brought us back to each other. The rain tapped gently against the window, a soft rhythm that matched the quiet beat of my heart. Outside, the city moved on as usual, oblivious to the small miracle unfolding inside the cafe. And inside, we just sat there, sharing glances, smiles, and the lingering notes of a song that had waited patiently for the right moment to bring us back together. We stayed there for what felt like hours, though the world outside moved on without us. Every word, every laugh, every glance was carefully measured, yet somehow effortless. It was as if we were relearning each other, rediscovering a rhythm we had lost but never truly forgotten. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine lightly. That small touch sent a spark straight through my chest, a reminder of everything we had shared and everything we had left unfinished. I didn't pull away. I couldn't. Somehow, it felt right, as if time had folded back on itself to bring us to this exact moment. We talked about the past, not the painful breakup, not the arguments or the silence, but the little things. The silly habits, the inside jokes, the songs that made us laugh until our sides ached. I realized how much I had missed this, the effortless connection, the way we understood each other without words, the comfort that came from simply being near him. At one point, he laughed at a memory I had long forgotten, the time I had tried to cook dinner for him and almost set the kitchen on fire. I smiled too, feeling warmth spread through me, and for the first time in months, the heaviness of heartbreak felt distant, replaced by something fragile but real, hope. The song played softly again, almost as if the universe had decided to underscore our reunion. I noticed his eyes on me, the way they lingered with a mixture of admiration, longing, and something more tender, something I had hoped was still there. I realized then that the connection we had shared was never really broken, it had simply been waiting for this moment to be remembered. We spoke about our fears, our regrets, and the what-ifs that had haunted us in the months apart. He admitted he had thought about me every day, wondered if I was okay, wondered if the song would ever bring me back to him. I confessed that I had done the same, each note a reminder of what we had lost and what I secretly hoped to find again. It was strange, how talking about the past didn't feel heavy or painful. It felt cleansing, like exhaling after holding your breath too long. The song had given us a bridge not just back to each other, but to the parts of ourselves we had left behind. At one point, the rain slowed outside, soft golden light filtering through the cafe windows. It made everything feel surreal, almost like a dream. I realized how much I had wanted this, not just to see him again, but to feel the warmth of love that had once been mine, to remember that some connections are too strong to fade, no matter how far time or distance tries to pull them apart. We laughed, we reminisced, and in between those moments, we simply sat in silence, letting the song and the quiet cafe wrap around us. It was a delicate balance of nostalgia and new beginnings, of past heartbreak and present possibility. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't the end of our story, it was a new chapter, written slowly, carefully, with the music that had brought us back together as its guiding note. After hours of talking, laughing, and quietly listening to the song together, there was a shift between us, something subtle but undeniable. It wasn't dramatic. There were no sweeping declarations, no sudden confessions. Just a quiet, steady realization that the space between us had narrowed, and somehow, our hearts remembered exactly where to meet. He reached out again, this time resting his hand lightly on mine, fingers curling around mine in a way that felt familiar yet new. My pulse quickened, but I didn't pull away. It felt natural, like we had never truly been apart, like the months of separation had only prepared us to appreciate this closeness even more. We left the cafe together, stepping into the gentle drizzle of evening rain. The city glimmered around us, lights reflecting off wet pavement, umbrellas bobbing past in muted colors. He offered me his jacket, draping it over my shoulders with a small smile. That simple gesture spoke louder than any words could: care, attention, thoughtfulness, and that quiet promise of being there again. We walked side by side, not saying much at first, letting the rhythm of our steps mirror the beat of our renewed connection. When I finally looked at him, I saw something I had hoped would still be there: softness, vulnerability, and a spark that reminded me of the first time we met. I realized I had missed him more than I had allowed myself to admit, and now that he was here, I wanted to hold on to every second. He stopped at a crosswalk, turning to me with that familiar, teasing grin. "Remember that ridiculous song we used to dance to in the middle of the street?" he asked. I laughed, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "How could I forget?" I replied. "You nearly tripped over your own feet trying to spin me around." He laughed too, that low, infectious laugh I had missed more than anything. "Well, maybe we should try it again sometime," he said, eyes twinkling with both mischief and longing. It was in that moment that I realized love isn't just about the grand gestures. It's in the small things, the shared laughter, the lingering glances, the moments of quiet connection. It's about noticing the little ways someone fits into your life perfectly, even after time and distance have tested you. We found ourselves walking along the riverside, the city lights shimmering in the water, reflections like tiny stars dancing around us. I felt my heart open in a way I hadn't in months, a mixture of relief, joy, and anticipation. Here he was, not as a memory, not as a shadow of what we had, but as someone present, real, and ready to create new moments with me. And all the while, that song played softly in my mind, a reminder that sometimes, love waits patiently, hiding in melodies and moments, waiting for the perfect time to return.